My name is Tony DeVito. I'm going to be your lab instructor this semester. The way this class is structured is a little bit unusual from a couple of perspectives. First one is that the lecture group is really two sections. You're going to be meeting together for 2 hours after this with another section, so there's going to be about 50 of you all together in that lecture section. Since these rooms only accommodate about 24 or 25 people, these labs, we split the labs up into two groups. You're section 1, you're meeting from 5 to 6, and then you'll be joining the other section for a lecture from 6 to 8. And then that other section will have the pleasure of coming back here and staying with me until 9 o'clock tonight. Okay, while you guys get to go home. So you do have to come in early, I know in rush hour it's a pain in the butt to get here and stuff like that. But you have the advantage of like being able to leave immediately after the lecture. My name's Tony DeVito, as I said. I'm an adjunct lecturer. Your professor is going to be Professor Xiaowei Yang. That's the way it's pronounced, Xiaowei. Professor Yang is a distinguished new professor from California. He taught in university out in California for a number of years. He's very experienced. He's really a brilliant guy. You're going to really enjoy the stuff that he's going to be teaching you. He's going to give you a lot of theory, a lot of background, and I'm going to have to teach you how to put this stuff to work on these computers. A big part of statistics and research these days, as you can imagine, is organizing information on computers, okay, and analyzing it on computers as well. I'm going to start by showing you some relics from when I took my first statistics course in 1967, I think it was, or something like that, at downtown Brooklyn, at Brooklyn Poly, that it was called in those days, Polytechnic Institute of Brooklyn. But nowadays, you're taking it from an entirely new perspective. So tonight is really more of an orientation than anything else. You're going to have an assignment to do, so there will be a homework for tonight, but it's going to be really just to kind of get you eased into what's going on. Professor Yang plans to give you a lot, concentrate on why we do statistics, how we do statistics, the theories and the applications for statistics. So he's going to be doing a lot of general stuff as well. Next week, we're going to get our hands dirty and really start to do some real statistics. So I think this is a good week for you to sit back and relax a little bit and listen to us mostly, and not get too worried yet. We'll get you worried plenty during the semester. Panic is one of our most important products. But we're going to try and minimize that a little bit this semester. But there are going to be a couple of assignments for this week, and again, it's mostly to get you started and get you broken in rather than to really test you on anything. Now, if you looked at the syllabus, you will have noticed that 10% of your grade is class participation. Okay, now normally we're a little reluctant to bother taking attendance and stuff like that in graduate school because you guys are adults and normally you don't need to be kept tabs on like that. However, in the beginning of the semester particularly, we need to know who's here, who's not here, because we have to fill out a web roster form for people's scholarships, for their various immigration status issues and so on and so forth, so we know who's actually attending class for the first several weeks. After that, we can relax a little bit more. This semester might be a little bit different because we're including class participation, and part of that's going to be attendance. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to take attendance. So I'm going to pass this around. You can just initial it for tonight, and then I'll pass it around next week, and so on and so forth. There you go. You can start at that end. So that's the reason for that. Yes? It's on Blackboard. We're going to talk about that in a second. It's on Blackboard as a PDF file, right? So we normally, we don't nowadays print very much stuff out. I know a lot of you guys how many of you guys, this is your first or second semester here? How many first? A few first also, yeah. You're going to find that almost everything is done through basically a website called Blackboard, where you'll find your various classes and your instructors are going to distribute material to you, and you're going to be able to return papers and other material to them through that same site. So you'll know when the classes are, what's going on. There'll be announcements on there. You should check it at least 3 or 4 times a week just to see if there's any changes in schedule or assignments and so on and so forth. You can talk to me before you leave. You new guys, if you have any questions about Blackboard, you'll have my email address. It'll be up here at some point. Contact me and I'll make sure that you guys get into step with that, because you're really going to need to be able to access that. So let's get into basically what we're going to talk about tonight. Okay, for starters, Blackboard. Let me just open that up. This is a little awkward because they have this wireless keyboard here and it's in really kind of a bad spot. Okay, no, let me start with Blackboard instead. Okay, so now you can get to Blackboard by going to the main Hunter website, hunter.cuny.edu, www.hunter.cuny.edu, and you can find links to the various student access sites and Blackboard and storefronts for electronic materials, discounts on software, and so on and so forth, a lot of other stuff. If you want to go directly to Blackboard, the easiest way that I find to get to it is to type in http:// no www bb.hunter.cuny.edu, and you'll get a web page where you can click Blackboard. You can put in your username and password for Blackboard. If you have an issue with that, you can contact ICET and make sure you have a username and password that'll work for it, and that'll bring you to a page where it will list all of your classes that you're taking. Select this class. This is PH750 Spring 2013. Select this class and you're going to open this web page right here. Okay, and in this web page, first thing you're going to come up with is announcements. What's going on in the course? What's the most recent announcements? How many of you got the announcement that I sent out welcoming to your class? You're not raising your hand. You didn't get it. Do you have an email address yet? A Hunter email address? Well, like I said, talk to me before you leave, okay? We'll make sure you're getting this stuff. Okay, so now, obviously, announcements are here. Course information, that's going to include the syllabus and so on and so forth. Class sections, if you click into that, and we're going to do that in a little while, you're going to see materials that's going to be available for the class this evening, for instance. You know, any exercises, the PDF file or the PowerPoint file that Professor Yang is going to be going over later on, and so on and so forth. Instructor contact information, there's discussion boards, and also, here's a little section here, my grades. If we have any homeworks, exams, and so on and so forth, you're going to find your grades listed in there. Okay, and various other ways for you to contact us, to get faculty support, get instruction on how to use Blackboard, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I'm going to let you guys dive into it, explore it a bit, and then let me know if you're having any issues and stuff like that, and I'll make sure to go over it. Okay, now one of the first things that we're going to ask you to do is, many of you, perhaps not this semester, but maybe next semester or next year, are going to be involved in situations where you're going to analyze data that's sensitive, patient data, for instance. You may be involved in doing surveys and things like that, or being involved with studies or outside research and so on. Many of you already know that there's been historically a number of situations where there have been ethical lapses in dealing with human subjects and in dealing with patient information and so on and so forth. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. And the way that's done is that institutions like Hunter have something called an internal review board. Any research that's done that involves human subjects in Hunter has to go through an internal review board. Well, they review the research, they review what kind of information is going to be collected, what protections, what information the subjects are given, and so on and so forth, and then they go ahead and approve it. Now, the people that actually do this work have to understand what the rules are. And in order to make sure that you guys who are going to be doing this kind of research understand what the rules are, we use a training system, an online training system called City Program. The website is cityprogram.org. It's on Blackboard, so you'll be able to get this information from Blackboard. And cityprogram.org is an online training system where you read maybe about a 4 or 5 page segment about ethics in human research. You're asked to answer 4 or 5 questions at the end of it. If you answer them adequately, you go on to the next section. You answer a few questions on that section, and so on and so forth. It's about maybe 8 or 10 sections that you have to go through. When you're finally done with that, you get to print out a certificate. Okay, now, since very frequently, and you notice how many new people we have here, very frequently, since this is a course that a lot of people start out with, they ask us to be the moderators for this. So we need you to go through the City Program course and to complete the course, print out a certificate and bring it in, or just make a PDF file or a scan of it and upload it to Blackboard or email it to us. Yes?
If you've done one in the past.
Within 1 year. If you've done one within 1 year, you can just go there, log on again, and print out a new certificate. If it's more than a year old, you can actually go there, and there's an area where you can tell it, I'm renewing, and it won't make you go through the whole thing again. You get a reduced program. I'm going to actually quickly go through this now, just so that you guys see what you're in for. Because this is going to take you this week. It's going to take you a few hours. I would budget at least maybe 3 hours if you're, a fairly good fast reader. If you're a slow reader, maybe 4 to go through this. You're not required to get 100% to go on to get your certificate. I think you have to average 80% or something like that. However, you can go back and take the little short quizzes as many times as you want, with or without rereading the material. Obviously, if you're getting them wrong, it's easier to reread it and then figure out why you're getting it wrong. Okay, so this is what you're greeted with when you log on. Let me see if I can't get this to play. There we go. Oops. This is what you're greeted with when you log on. You're going to create a username and password. You're going to choose what your organization or institution is. If you click on that, you're going to get a big, long list of organizations. If you go down alphabetically, you'll find City University of New York rather than Hunter. So that's what you're going to select. Okay, you're going to put in a username, you're going to put in a password, it's going to ask you for some security information in case you got to log back on and you lose it. Your email address, and then it's going to ask some personal information which you're required to give. I'm not sure exactly why, but gender, ethnicity, and so on and so forth. Now, if you're using this for continuing education credits, most of you won't be, but if you know in advance that this is something that you'll need, you can click yes on that. Most of you are just going to click no. You can click yes or no to like being willing to answer a survey if they contact you later on. That's up to you. I must have been in a moment of weakness. I clicked yes. Okay, so. All right, and then you continue and you fill out what your degree is, what department you have, so on and so forth. Some information again about yourself. Student research graduate level is probably what your role in research is going to be. It requires you to put in some sort of phone number. That can be a home number or an office number. It doesn't matter. Finally, this is an important part. It asks you which of these 5 options, which of the modules do you want to do this in. We are going to take the one in Human Subjects Basic course. We're not interested in animal use and care. We're not. If you're taking it as a refresher, you can check. In other words, your certificate is more than a year old, but you don't want to do the whole thing again. You can check the refresher one. But for most of it, we're taking the Human Subjects Basic course. This is on Blackboard if you need to get to it in a PDF file. Select a group, what type of research activities you're going to be involved with. Okay, and for us, for the most part, it's going to be social and behavioral faculty, graduate students, and postgraduate scholars. So we're going to want to click that one. So we wind up with the appropriate course. You click the wrong one, you're going to wind up with way more modules to do, or modules that aren't really relevant to what what kind of stuff that you're likely to be doing. It's not a disaster, but it would be better that like you only get to do what's really relevant and not have to do a lot of extra stuff. Okay, then it gives you a summary of what you're in for. And finally, you get this page where